A well-known question that comes up often in our lives is what Nusach should we daven? Some people grow up in one synagogue. Perhaps they were not as devoted to mitzvot as they might have been. And then they grow up and they go to another synagogue where they become more enthusiastic about doing the right thing and suddenly discover that the Nusach in the two synagogues is not the same. How do you deal with this disparity? Which Nusach is your basic Nusach? Then there's also a secondary question that has to do with pronunciation. Today, it's very common for people to adopt the Israeli Sephardic pronunciation. On the other hand, there's some people who insist on maintaining the older form of pronunciation that they learned when they were children. So these two matters concern us today. First, what's the right Nusach? In the Shulchan Aruch Simon Samach Ches, which is called Shelo Lafsik B'Piyutim, the Shulchan Aruch says that you should not say too many piyutim. Piyutim are religious poems that were added throughout the ages to the Shemona Esrei and to other parts of the Tefillah. In fact, they had special names, and they were very common. The Shulchan Aruch doesn't like piyutim. He says you shouldn't say many piyutim. But the Ramah adds, in Ashkenaz it was more common to say piyutim, and the Ramah adds, Al kain ein la'adam lefrosh atzmo me'at tzibur. A person should not separate himself from the community if they say piyutim to decide not to. B'makom shena'agu la'omram v'yamar otam imahem. So the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah says that a person should not arbitrarily decide that he's not going to say these piyutim, but in fact he should say the piyutim with the rest of the tzibur. On this matter, the Mishnah Berurah makes a programmatic comment as follows. He says, Meinu Rav Chaim Vital. Rav Chaim Vital was the outstanding student of the Arizal in Tzfat. And many of the things that are written in the name of the Arizal were in fact written by Chaim Vital, who is also a great scholar and knowledgeable in the secret lore of the Kabbalah. And he wrote this in the name of the Ari. He wrote that the Ari would not say piyutim. He would not say these extra religious poems of pismonim. I guess they mean other kinds of poems. Elamash sidru harishonim kigon hakaliri. He says the early paitanim, like Rabbi Elazar HaKalir, who lived in the time of the Amoraim and was very highly regarded, those piyutim the Arizal was willing to say and include in his sidur. Shenitkinu al derech ha'emet. These poems, written, for example, by the Kalir, were significantly followed the way of truth, which means Kabbalah. V'chein, the Mishnah Berurah says, Lo Yaomer Yigdal, even the poem called Yigdal, the Arizal didn't like. Umikol Makom, furthermore, Hayid Noshel Rav Chaim Vital Alaviv. And we have a further witness. Rav Chaim Vital's son said about his father, שכשהיה שליח ציבור בקהל בימים נוראים, היה אומר כל הווידויים וכל הפיוטים. But on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippurim, Rav Chaim Vital would say all of the piyutim. וישמע חכם ממנו ייקח חוכמה ומוסר השכל שלא לשנות המנהגים. So somehow you have here like a theoretical consideration, which is to reject the piyutim, and you have a practical consideration, which is the minhag hamakom, So we come to this conclusion according to the Mishnah Berurah. And this conclusion has wide-ranging effects. The conclusion is that when you daven with a tzibur, you cannot daven against the grain of the tzibur. On the other hand, you should do everything that you can to protect the Nusach that you were brought up with, and we will continue tomorrow to consider this matter.